Welcome back, everyone, to the Weekend Kickoff podcast. We're on a United show today, Devil's Advocate, and this evening we are joined by multiple guests here this evening. It's Tuesday night. It's our first ever live call-in show, and joining me today as my co-host on this evening's show is Mr. Shane Dowley, as always on the weekly Armchair Kickoff. Shane, how are you?
Not too bad, Keane. Thanks for having me on again. How are you?
Not too bad. No, not too bad. You know, I'm happy enough coming back on the back of getting a result on the weekend. Probably not the most exciting game to watch, but all in all, very happy. We got 3 points and on the back of a very good result as well against Real Sociedad. So I suppose from Manchester United fans, not a bad couple of days when you consider rivals dropping points in the league as well. Liverpool down to 6th place where they belong as well. So yeah. A fantastic week for Manchester United fans at the moment. Also, look, I'd just like to let everyone know as well, we do have callers in here today where we will be talking Manchester United, and they will also have any questions and answers. We will have a Q&A session live on the show too. And if anyone's in the comments as well, get your comments in below for the callers themselves, and we'll go through them as well. So before I bring our first guest into the show, Shane, first of all, I was going to like to get your thoughts kind of on Sunday's game against Newcastle. Big game for United in terms of the Premier League. Leicester City, got a win on the weekend. Chelsea drew their game in the league. Liverpool lost again, and for all Manchester United fans, for us to be like the last team on Sunday, it was a very pressurized situation for ourselves because any time our rivals played before us and dropped points in the last couple of years, we haven't capitalised on that. But all in all, 3-1 win, snatch and grab. How do you feel about the game on Sunday?
I'm usually not one to be happy with just the win if we don't play well because it papers over cracks. But over how we've been the last month or so, I think the main thing in that game was just to get to 3 points, especially after the teams around us, after dropping points. It was a good point. It was a good chance to widen the gap again. So I think that was the main thing. We didn't play particularly well. It's very much a case of what it's been the last couple of months where we're playing really slow and lethargic and it's not really clicking, and it's just kind of a moment of brilliance from Rashford or Bruno like it was for the first goal. So that was good for Rashford for the first goal, and then defensively, like we can't keep clean sheets at all. It's so mad. It's a bit of everything is the problem defensively. The centre halves aren't doing as well as they should, but they get no protection, and then De Gea is just glued to his line the whole time as well. So I don't know. It wasn't a great game, but we just take it over the run we've been on. It was just important to get the win.
Yeah, I think, look, in that regard, I think with the kind of recent run we've been on, when you consider the draws we've had, when you consider the loss against Sheffield United, when you consider that, when we concede that goal, I think we're all thinking the worst. We're thinking, it's going to be one of days again, where we drop points and we lose against a team we shouldn't lose against, because let's be no disrespect to Newcastle. Yeah. We've had the Newcastle lads on the channel the other day. No disrespect towards them, but we should lose to a team, Newcastle, who are really struggling at the moment, considering the attack and talent we have. Now you can talk about the injuries we have in midfield. We have a lot of injuries in midfield at the minute. Actually, a lot more injuries than what the Scousers have at the minute. They seem to be moaning about their injuries. But when you consider our injuries in midfield, we didn't moan about it. We just got on with it and got the 3 points in the weekend. But for me, I think it's one of them games.
Sorry, go on. You finish your point first. Sorry.
I think it's just one of them games where I think you get the 3 points, you get a couple of goals and you move on. I think that's what it was like on Sunday for me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I thought was really weird was Newcastle really surprised me, because I was full sure, like Steve Bruce, Newcastle, yeah, thinking they're going to park the bus and try and get something on the break. But they were pressing us really high, and they were pressing us off the field for most of the game, especially the first half. We couldn't string any passes together. Like, they had our foot on our neck for most of the game, which was really disappointing, because I've said, like, I think we've gotten better at playing out of the back when teams press us, but we struggled to do it over 90 minutes. But from the first minute against Newcastle, we couldn't do it. We couldn't string any passes together, and that's kind of what was killing us. So, I don't know. I thought that was really disappointing, because it's not as if Newcastle are a brilliant, well-coached, pressing team. Do you know what I mean? And they really hurt us, just running after us.
Yeah.
So credit to them, though.
Yeah, I think it's just one of them things. Again, they did play well. Alan St. Maximin was someone who was quite good. He had great performance. I said this to you, Martin, from the Magpie channel, Newcastle channel, the other day. I was like, if Newcastle get relegated this season and we can't get Jadon Sancho, I'd be looking at Alan St. Maximin as a cut price deal if they go down, because he's a great player.
He's funny.
He's a very, very good player, and it's someone that. And he's French as well, so he could link up with Paul Pogba if needs be, if Paul Pogba stays.
And he's way out the door.
What I'm going to do now. Yeah, just very fat chance of Paul Pogba staying. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in our first caller, our first guest. It's actually a familiar face on the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. He has appeared a couple of times on the United show Devil's Advocate. So I'm going to bring him in now. Our very own man, our resident man, Doug, known as G-Son. Doug, can you hear me?
What's up, boys?
All right, Doug, how are you going?
What's going on?
Doug, how are you?
Good. Just
not
enjoying
too
the
bad.
Not between you guys, yeah.
Yeah. As always, myself and Shane are always having the banter on this channel, and sometimes we disagree, sometimes we agree the whole time, but it's just one of them things. But Doug, you're familiar to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. You're familiar to Devil's Advocate. We always like to talk about things in depth in terms of all things Manchester United. At this moment in time, Shane is also my co-host here tonight. So Shane is going to actually be in first topic towards yourself in terms of what he'd like to talk to you about tonight. I am on the call-in show.
Let's do it.
So, Doug, I was never on a show with you before, so firstly, it's nice to meet you and get a chance to do it with you. First, what do you make of the Newcastle game, and where do you think we kind of struggled? Because I think we're all in agreement it probably wasn't a brilliant performance. So how do you think it went overall, and where we struggled and where we got joy for the goals? And then lastly, just what do you make of the game coming up Thursday as well?
Yeah, I think this is a really tricky period for United, because obviously I think that the league is just about out of touch for us. I think we're going to really have a fight on our hands to keep second. I still think we're in a really good place to get top four, right? But if you look at that Newcastle game, I was out of my mind that he started Lindelof and Maguire again. I thought Dan James, and I all these comments on like, well, he played well against Real Sociedad, and so we want to keep that run of form. Okay, well, how many guys before, like, and I'll use it because as Keane knows, I'm a big Donny van de Beek fan. Like, Van de Beek has played well, and then he gets sit on the bench for 3-4 weeks, months, whatever, and doesn't get a chance again. Dan James scores 1 goal against Real Sociedad, and I think everyone can kind of agree he's at the current state he's at. He's one-dimensional, you know, and all he provides is pace, and he might help keep the team shape. But I just look at that team and I go, that team is so far off of challenging for titles, and major European cups that it's like, are we really progressing? I mean, in theory we are, but you know, it doesn't really fill me with a lot of confidence right now that we're going to be back to the United of old, where we're someone that should be feared versus someone that's looked at and teams think they have a chance against us, which is, I think, what Newcastle did coming into that game. You know, I think Bruce had his team well drilled, and I think he thought I could get a point out of this.
Mm. Yeah, I agree with
I think it was one of them things.
Yeah. I agree. I like what you said about it's kind of frustrating from Ollie, and it's inconsistent how James played well against Sociedad and he was back in the league. And that's fair enough. You want to reward players and play the foreign players. But then you look at, say, Tuanzebe against PSG in the first game in the Champions League, and he was arguably our best player, and then he was dropped then for the next couple of games. So it's kind of frustrating, especially when, like, if I'm honest, to be fair, in fairness to James, if he played well against Sociedad, but at the end of the day, I think most people would agree he's not good enough for United. Whereas maybe Tuanzebe, the jury is out whether he is good enough for United, but I see a lot more upside to him, John. I prefer someone like him be rewarded, where I think he might actually have a future at the club, where I don't think James would. But yeah, it's just kind of inconsistent from him. But I suppose it's kind of hard to argue as well because he scored a goal, even though I don't think he played particularly well at the same time.
Yeah. I think if we're looking at, if you're scoring goals, that's the measuring stick by which you should be considered to be a United player or even a bench player, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like it has to go so much farther beyond that, right? And he has still yet to show that he has technical abilities. He still has to show that he can put a good end product in there to deliver a good final ball. I think scoring a late goal against Sociedad and then getting, let's be real, a pretty can't miss point blank shot from where he was at. Granted, it was a good finish. I'm not taking away from the finish. It was a good finish.
Yeah.
But, there's not a lot of people I think at that level that would have missed from there. Yeah. And so I just kind of look at James and I'm like, if all we're trying to do right now is maybe boost up his value for transfer in the summertime, okay. But other than that, I just really don't understand why he's getting picked.
Yeah, like he just...
Well, if I can interject here with Dan James, he's someone who I've heavily actually criticised in terms of being a player who starts. Doug, you were actually on the show with me before the Leeds United game. I believe that's the last time you've been on this channel, before Leeds. And again, I said this, against teams who play a high line, Dan James will be in set because he has pace to burn, he can exploit spaces, and he's someone who will press when a team is trying to play out from the back.
Yeah.
Where Dan James's strengths don't come into effect is when you play against teams with a low block and you play against teams where you sit on the 18-yard line and park the bus. I think with Dan James, one thing we've seen out of him in the two games is work rate. I think that's something that's very important when you're a Manchester United player, that you work your socks off. For too many times in the last 7 years, we've had players who've come to this club and they've come to the club for the wage and they haven't shown much work rate, much desire, much commitment to this club. Now, is Dan James a player who's going to win your Premier League title? Absolutely not. We can all agree on that. Absolutely not. One thing I will say about Dan James, he's a squad player who will come in maybe 5 to 10 games a season, and in them 5 to 10 games a season, he'll play well in them games more often than not, because he'd be picked for that specific game. Dan James this season has 6 goals in nine appearances this season. So when you consider that, that's nearly a better turnaround than Anthony Martial has in all competitions this season in a lot more appearances. So when you consider that turnaround, that's quite good for a player who's only playing after playing 9 games this season, where Martial is after playing a lot more. So, and that's no agenda against Anthony Martial. I'm just making an example of a player who's played a lot more games than another in a similar position.
Yeah,
I think when you look at Daniel James, he's not going to be a player who's going to win you a title, but he can do a job, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think he definitely has his uses, but I just think overall he's too limited to be a United player. Do you know what I mean? If, like, the game has to be so, the conditions have to be so, like, defined for him to get the best. Like, you need to play a team that's going to be playing a high line and going to leave space. And when you're playing for Man United, not a lot of teams are going to do that. And I do get about the work rate. Obviously, you need players that are going to push shift in and track back and do all of that. Like, Fergie had less talented players that could do that. But then, like, a player who stands out to me like that on the Fergie was Park Ji-sung. And he was a way better player than someone like Daniel James, who, like, he worked hard and all that, but he was a good player. You know, he could pick up space in between the lines. He had an eye for goal. He had nice combination play. He could play left, right, through the middle, anywhere. Where James, he'll do all that donkey work, but I just don't think he has enough about his game. You make a good point about he's scored. He tends to he's put up decent numbers this year, but I think also you need to look at the quality of opposition. That it's been like the last few minutes when games were already won or in lesser teams in the cups. So I agree with what you're saying, Keane. I just think if we want to get back to where we want to get to, I think for squad, you do need less talented players or squad players that are going to put in a shift. But I think we need them players to be better than Daniel James.
Yeah, and for both of you, I mean, here's where I'm at with this. Is as of right now, I'm not going to sit back, and even if we have a somewhat bad run of results, right? And let's say that James continues to get starts and he continues to be somewhat hit or miss in some of these, right? I think with United's focus right now is I don't think we're going to win the league. We have a couple of opportunities to win some sort of silverware, so we do need to focus on that. But ultimately, I think that right now we're in a comfortable enough position in the top four that we shouldn't take too many risks. But right now, starting Dan James, it didn't hurt us. One, because we won, but two, we've got a decent enough buffer on definitely Liverpool. Leicester is right behind us, so we have to be careful with that. But in general, I think if he's trying to do a little bit of assessment right now, heading into the summertime about who fits and who doesn't, again, I don't like him playing these sort of games, right? Because I do think that's a little risky. But Keane knows. I mean, we were on Owen's show, and I basically, you guys laughed at me because I said I would actually start Dan James against Leeds for that exact reason of he's going to have pace and he's going to get in behind them. And I was like, I don't think it's crazy to start him. But to what Shane was saying, it's the quality of opposition that he's faced. It's not top level. And let's be real, if we plan on being in and around the top two, if not winning, we're going to have every single player on the starting 11 to the bench be someone who's not just I work hard when I'm out there. You have to work hard, but you also have to have technical traits and better playing abilities for us to actually do the things that we want to do. And I just don't. I like Dan James. He's a good guy. He's a great guy. I'm not questioning his character. I just think overall he's not a long-term United player, and we don't have time for projects right now.
Yeah, but again, I think when you look at the context of him playing as well in the last two games, he's been forced to play him because of injury. Cavani's out, Donny van de Beek out. Martial, okay, he's been playing okay. He hasn't been playing the best. Dan James came on there. They're saying Mason Greenwood was going to be a doubt. So I think he has been forced in that respect. But again, he has a role within the squad. Again, it's not a first team role. And when you consider he's only played 9 games this season in this very congested season, that's not many games when you really think about it. When you think about the games he's played and you speak about the level of opposition, I don't think under any stretch of the imagination he's going to be playing in the Champions League next season. So be it if we're there, in that regard. But all things considered, I think he's a decent squad player. And against teams who play high line, I think he's someone who you can use because his pace, he can hurt anybody with that pace. It's just what decision he kind of makes after that. It's kind of, that's the bit that's up in the air. It's what he does after he beats the man. But Doug, final one.
Good.
Doug, final one before you go. Before we bring in the next guest on the show. Manchester United were playing Real Sociedad in the Europa League this week. Obviously, we're winning 4-0 at the moment. Big score, big advantage going into the game at Old Trafford this Thursday. For you, would you like to see Amad Diallo get a start this Thursday, considering we have a big game against Chelsea on the weekend?
Yeah, I think Ollie's already come out and said he's not starting, but if I was having my picks about it, he would, because you're in a home environment. Granted, we don't have the fans there, but it's home, so that's huge. I think from the 10, 15 minutes he got in the first game, you could see his pace. You could see what he's sort of about. And I think we need to see that in a full 45 to 60 minutes, right? And I don't think he's someone that's going to hurt you. And even if we do, we have enough of a buffer that I would like to see him actually get some really quality minutes. Like I said, 45 to 60 minutes, and let him get a run in. And worst case, you pull him off, and it's a learning lesson for him. He's going to have to learn him at some point. But only giving him 10, 20 minutes at the end of the game, it's not worth it. Like I feel like his intensity levels may not be as sharp as if he started a game, right? Because if he's there from kickoff, he knows he has to be on it. Versus, let's assume we're up 3-0 again at the time we bring him on. We're coasting with a 7-0, sort of lead. I'm not saying he won't play hard, but I'm saying his mindset will be different than if he's starting a game. And I think that's for him. That's key.
Yeah, and especially like if you're winning like 6-7 on aggregate with 20 minutes left, the whole team, this thing is taken out of the game, and so it's slowed down to walking pace. So you're really at nothing giving him minutes then. Like obviously it's a nice experience for him first team minutes, but you'd like to see him get them intense minutes from the start, like early in the second half, and when it's not, the game isn't completely gone. So
yeah, but that's my 2 cents on Diallo.
Team start. I think I'd like to see him start. It just depends who he has around him. That's what it is for me. It depends who he has around him. If you play a weak team, I wouldn't like to see him start. He could get exposed. But if he's in there with the likes of a Mata, a Matic, a Donny van de Beek around him, players who can make them smart passes to him, I'd be happy to see him start. But for me, it just depends on what personnel he has around them in this game. Because if he went out with a completely young team, I'd be worried he'd get exposed against a good team like Real Sociedad. Even though we beat him 4-0, I think that scoreline probably flattered us a small bit because they are a good side and they had a couple of chances as well in the game. But Doug, thank you very much for coming on the call-in show here this evening. It's always great to have you on the channel, and I will be in touch, and Doug, with regards to coming on, and we may be on one of the preview shows now next week or the week after.
Of course, boys. Glad to be on as always.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Matt.
Bye, boys.
Cheers, Doug. Bye-bye.
Later.
So that was Doug. Do check him out on Twitter at his handle at @GSungDoug. He's a top Manchester United fan. He's really knowledgeable with the game of football. So do catch Doug on Twitter on his handle at @GSungDoug. And he also features on Red United over on Adam's channel as well. So do go over and check him out there. Next guest I'm going to bring on is a new face to the Weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. The first time we're having them on the show here today. It is Mr. Greg Chambers. Greg, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
How's it going, Craig? How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, lads. How are you?
Not too bad, no. Thanks for asking. Where are you from? You're from the UK, are you?
Yeah, from Scotland.
From Scotland. What part of Scotland are you from?
Sort of in between Edinburgh and St Andrews, a middle bit called Fife.
Edinburgh. Do you know, I've only been to Edinburgh once in my whole life, and it's because my flight got diverted. But I heard it's a really nice part of Scotland. So when coronavirus is over, I hope to definitely travel there, because a lot of people have told me great things, especially the nightlife. Anyway, so
it's really good. But we found out today our lockdown restrictions are a little stricter. Like our cool down seems to be a little longer than what you guys are getting in England and things like that in the rest of the UK. So so it could be a while until
over here in Ireland they're a bit restrictive as well, so I don't think we'll be seeing any kind of restrictions being lifted anytime soon.
Not
Greg, as on the Weekly Armchair Kickoff, you've obviously seen the show, you've seen Manchester United, and you kind of see what we mainly talk about here on the United show, Devil's Advocate. I'm actually going to come to you on something different, not in terms of the Newcastle game or Real Sociedad. I'm going to come to you on Bruno Fernandes. Fernandes, obviously, look, from people watching this channel, they know that Bruno Fernandes for me is the best player at the club, and in my opinion, the best midfield player in world football at the moment. Now, sometimes me and Shane disagree in that sometimes with regards to Bruno. But for yourself, I'm Bruno's hype man, 100%. But like Greg, in terms of Bruno Fernandes, at the moment in his Manchester United career, he is on 34 goals in his Manchester United career at the moment. Considering Manchester United's fixture list coming up, and you consider the amount of games we've left the league, we've 13 league games and maybe a prolonged period in Europa League and the FA Cup. Do you believe Bruno Fernandes this season can maybe break the 50 goal mark in his Manchester United career, considering the amount of games we've left in Premier League and also potentially the FA Cup and the Europa League?
I think if he stays fit, then absolutely. That's always the big thing. Like he's been really lucky since he joined the club. Completely, he's not had any sort of prolonged period of injury. He seems to want to play every single game, whether it's FA Cup or I imagine he'll still want to play on Thursday. I can't see him playing at all on Thursday. I think it'll be a completely rotated team. But if he plays in as many games as he physically can, then absolutely, I agree with you. I think he's the most informed midfielder in world football. One of the best I've ever seen put on a Man United shirt. He just runs a game. He just makes everything come alive. Games that he doesn't start, he comes on, and then there's suddenly this uptake in tempo, and everyone just looks to him to sort of play through. So if he stays fit, definitely he can score 50. He can get his 50th goal, and of course he'll always take penalties. And because we have the fastest counter-attacking side in the league, we're going to win penalties. I don't know what that is. Like the two sides that win the most penalties happen to be Man United and Leicester. It's the two sides that are the fastest in the league. They've got Vardy and we've got Rashford. So
the two. Greg, I like you already. You're stealing my thunder here. But the fact you said that, I think obviously he probably will get a couple of penalties because, granted, as you've pointed it out, and me and Shane have drilled this home so many times in this show.
Yeah.
Manchester United, we have a very good attack. We're very good going forward. We're a great counter-attacking team. We're bound to get fouled in the box.
Yeah,
and
always. When we're playing players like Marcus Rashford, and you've got Martial, who, when he can be bothered, is quick, and Dan James. Even obviously, I heard what your conversation you were having there. Dan James, even in the games that he plays, if you've got that raw pace, defenders don't like that. You don't get very many defenders with the pace of someone like a Van Dijk or a Rafa Varane or anyone really with that sort of pace. So they're going to foul them. They're going to leave a leg hanging. And sometimes players will go down softly, but we've noticed in the last 18 months, if you don't go down, then you don't get the penalty. And at the end of the day, those guys are there to win football games. So if it means you've got to hit the floor to win the penalty rather than stay up, then why not hit the floor? But there's contact, they go down, but we've got the fastest team in the league. And as I said, I think second's Leicester for giving penalties, and they've got Vardy playing the same balls in behind. So it makes sense. Teams that don't get a lot of penalties are teams like Burnley and Newcastle, who lump it long into a big target man or try and hold it up. They don't get a lot of penalties because defenders can deal with that. You can't deal with pace. No defender wants to deal with pace.
Yes, we have a lot of ball carriers in the team, like even the midfielders, like someone like Pogba and Bruno. It's not just people are getting the ball and releasing. Like we have players that all kind of want the ball to feet and they're willing to carry the ball. Do you know what I mean? When you have forwards that are like that, are willing to take on people and getting in feet and turning and trying to spin people, that's how you pick up penalties. Like.
Yeah, I think even this season, I think in the last year, McTominay's proved a lot of people wrong with how good he is at ball carrying. He picks up the ball so deep from Maguire, and he just runs. And suddenly defenders are looking, and they've got to not only track Pogba and Bruno and Rashford and things like that. They've then got to worry about McTominay, who's a big 6'4" Scotsman carrying the ball, running at them. And you've suddenly got to make a decision. And I'll bang on about McTominay till people start listening that he is honestly, like 2 years ago, people saying, or 18 months ago, people saying he wasn't good enough to be Man United. And right now he's in our best 11. Every day of the week, I would play Scott McTominay. He's so good. He just controls the game. He's been given, and you can see how much he's trusted by everyone. People like Maguire and the defenders, they give him the ball and they let him, and he unlocks the offense for us if we're struggling and need a goal. He did it against Leeds. Like he was making those runs in behind and got us the 2 quick goals against Leeds. So he's unbelievable. But yeah, we've got so many players that are comfortable on the ball and carriers of the ball, and Shaw this year as well. I don't know what's happened to Luke Shaw this year that he's decided to play football, because this was the Luke Shaw that we paid all this money for. Yeah. And then for 3 years we got nothing. And then suddenly this year he's a different player. So yeah, we've got all these players that seem to be comfortable on the ball, and they're getting to play their natural game. I think under Van Gaal and under Mourinho, there was no one really there. Rashford's not playing his natural game in a Mourinho system. I don't care how good a coach Mourinho is; he's going to win things brilliant. But you're not letting players play their natural game, and just to try to score one and then keep the defence at bay. That can't be our natural game with players that are that good on the ball and that quick. Not at all.
I'm commenting here from Amy, who's on our all women show, Three Devils and a Gooner. Amy says, "I like Greg too." Greg, I think you're echoing all of me and Shane's thoughts and Amy's thoughts on this show. Literally the last kind of couple of weeks. And do you know what? You're absolutely right. Like when you look at Jose Mourinho, when you look at Marcus Rashford's development under Mourinho, me and Shane mentioned this on the show a couple of weeks ago. There was a 2-year gap in development for Marcus Rashford that was lost because of Jose Mourinho and how stagnated he had United's formation. And now you look at Rashford's development under Solskjaer. Not only is he brought goal scoring into this game, but he's getting assists, he's coming inside, he's creating chances, and he's becoming a lot more intelligent.
Yeah, I think it might be. I think the one area of his game that you look at and think still needs worked on is finishing. I think a lot, like you saw, he missed 2 chances that I think if they dropped to Cavani, we're 2-0 up inside 10 minutes against Sociedad. And he's got a bit of the head down, hit it hard about him rather than keep your head up and pick a corner, because he's fast, he's got quick feet. He can. I refuse to believe he can't sit a goalkeeper down and then knock it around the corner. Like Minamino did it on Saturday or Sunday. I refuse to believe that if Takumi Minamino can do it, that Rashford can't do it. To just stay on your feet and phase a keeper out and pick a corner. And if you go to pick a corner and you hit the post once, that's unlucky. But I think maybe where he does whack a little bit and where he'll obviously improve working with Ollie and working with Cavani is his finishing. I think he does need to improve that, because I think his best position is on the left. I don't think he's got a future in the centre. He's not a natural goal scorer like someone like Greenwood is. But his raw pace and his ability on the wing and the fact he's 2-footed and anything like that, you saw with his goal on Sunday as well, that it was just, he would completely, I think it was Kraft didn't have a chance. Like, he could have told Kraft exactly where he was going and he wouldn't have got anywhere near Rashford. And if he'd put a foot in, he would have went down for a penalty anyway, so it wouldn't have made a difference. But I think maybe his finishing is where you see the biggest downside in his game. But I think he's still 22, 23, still got ages. He's still got a long 23. He's still very young. He's still got a lot of time to become as established a finisher.
People don't realize how young he is because he's already like so important to us.
Yeah,
exactly. Like between him and Bruno, they've been our best players the last 2 years. So Rashford was 21, 22 at the start last season. He's been so important. People forget how young he actually is.
Oh yeah, I think people also forget that as well when you look what he does off the pitch.
Yeah,
I think people also forget that when you look what he does off the pitch for the kids, what he's doing in England at the moment and all across the UK, not just England.
Yeah, absolutely. Son at 23 is 1 year older than me, and he's doing all that for people across the country. Some people forget how young he is and just how he just seems to take to sort of everything. He'll become a brilliant player. I was having this conversation with a couple of my mates. I don't think I could name. There's not many other players I could name in clubs all around the world that I could probably put absolutely everything on that they would never leave that club. And Rashford just seems like one of those players. I imagine he'll be in the Paul Scholes sort of category in terms of like not having an agent. Because I just can't see where he'd want to play. I think Man United could be in League One and he'd want to play for the shirt. He just strikes me as that sort of guy. So if his finishing improves, then it could be genuinely top tier. But there's nothing wrong, and I think he tried for about 18 months to 2 years. He tried to prove himself as that striker, and he wanted to play through the middle. But there's nothing wrong with being an elite wide player and stretching the play, because you can still have all that creativity and all the goal scoring from out wide. You don't need to score goals from the centre. And if you've got someone as good as Mason Greenwood with his finishing, why wouldn't you play him through the middle and Rashford out on the left for the next 10 years, 15 years?
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing with him was, like, up until this year, he couldn't make his mind up what type of player he wanted to be. There was a time where he wanted to be a striker, and then even when he was playing left wing, say at the start of last season, he was playing like 06 Ronaldo, where he was just constantly running at the fullback, and it was really good, and he was playing brilliant. And then he came back after lockdown and after his injury, and maybe it was just because he was back from injury, but I think part of it, he tried to be more of a playmaker, where he wasn't, like, he was really reluctant to go back, run at his fullback, and he kept checking back and kind of trying to break the line with a pass. I think this year he's kind of gotten the right blend of it. He's like, I guess his decision making front of the goal isn't there yet. I think it'll come in time, but I think he's starting to figure out when to go at the fullback and when to not, and when to pick the pass. And So he's really polishing his game really well, because you look out when he first came through and he was so raw, like and now he just it's class to see. It's just deadly. I love him.
No, he's absolutely brilliant. I think this year what's helped him a lot with having the confidence to take on the fullback is having Shaw there, and how good Shaw is playing, and the fact that Shaw this year can be bothered to track back. That was people knew that Shaw had the ability on the ball, and he could occasionally put in the odd like good dead ball delivery and things like that. But what he was doing was losing the ball in dangerous areas and then jogging back. So what it did a lot is if Shaw was coming over for the overlap, then it caused Rashford to drop back, which then meant he was picking up in a position where he wasn't as comfortable with it. And then he was trying to be that playmaker. But I think with Shaw, really since we brought in Telles, Shaw being as good as he is, as good as he has been, has given Rashford a lot of confidence. And I think having Cavani there as well, in terms of knowing that, because I'm going to say I don't rate Martial greatly. I think he's fine. He had a great season last season, but it seems more and more like it's a sort of a flash in the pan. He doesn't seem to like competition. You saw it when we had Lukaku. He didn't want to be there. He managed to the fact we sold one of the greatest strikers in Europe and kept Anthony Martial should have been a big plus to him. It should have lit a fire under him that, right, they believe in me. And we brought in Cavani quite clearly as a senior head to help out these young players. Martial still can be helped by them, and he just doesn't seem bothered. So I think when Rashford plays with Cavani and he looks up and there's that person making those runs or making the space, then it helps Rashford as well.
Yeah. I'm so happy for Shaw this year, man, because like there was always a player. I remember we were saying at start season, he was so frustrating because you knew there was a player in him, but it was all mental since the leg break, and he just wouldn't put. The only time he pushed himself was when his place in the 11 was under threat.
Yeah,
So I'm so happy he's finally after pulling the finger out, because he's been class this year.
Oh yeah,
he's best left back in the league right now.
He is. Yeah, he's absolutely the best. And if he didn't, he must start for England, surely, in the Euros. Yeah. I can't see them keep. Chilwell's not starting for Chelsea. It's Marcus Alonso.
I think, Greg, though, from a Scottish point of view, for yourself, I think you better hope Ben Chilwell is starting, because then at least that way Scotland,
Scotland they can play anyone they like. Scotland will win. We've got the great Ollie McBurney. We'll be absolutely fine. We'll be absolutely fine. Ollie McBurney will score a hat-trick. It'll be fine.
One more just before we bring in the next caller, Greg. Obviously we alluded to Bruno Fernandes just at the start when you came on, and we talked about his goal scoring tally and potentially reaching 50 goals before the end of the season in terms of his overall Manchester United goal scoring record. When you look at the best players in world football, you look at Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland. At the moment, maybe Cristiano Ronaldo still in the top 5. You can argue Messi, Mo Salah. You can argue all these players. And I had this as a topic because I'm going to bring it to you, but I'm also going to bring it to Shane as well. At this moment in time, on current form, is Bruno Fernandes in the top 5 players in world football at the moment?
Yeah, on current form, yeah. If he was to stick on this current form, in terms of like, if he was to do this for 18 months to 2 years, the current form that he's on, being a goal contribution a game, then you would have to look at that. He's absolutely one of the best. And he does everything, and he's a leader as well. It doesn't strike me that the other, obviously there's players like Messi and things like that are just natural born leaders, but someone like a Kylian Mbappe, as good as he doesn't strike me as that person that's going to come on at 3-0 or like 2-0 down and he's going to inspire a team comeback. He's brilliant. He's world class. He's going to score goals if you give him the chance, but Fernandes has more than just the natural ability. He seems to instill belief in the other players in the team as well. So yeah, if he kept this going, he'd be seen as one of the best. But absolutely, I think he is comfortably in the top few players in world football on current form.
Shane, at the moment, do you think Bruno's at this moment in time in the top 5?
Yeah, at the moment on current form, definitely. Like if you took the last 12 months in terms of like a Ballon d'Or year, he's having like a Ballon d'Or level year. The only thing that kind of counts against him in that regards is, and it's not his fault really, is that he's playing the Europa League. Do you know, say if he was doing the Champions League, because you know how the Champions League, like the Ballon d'Or is so much, there's so much politics in it almost, and the Champions League has such a big impact on it that the fact he's doing it in the second tier of European football would count against him in that regard. But discount the Ballon d'Or. Like,
he scored the Champions League this season, though. Like, he scored in the Champions League this season against Leipzig.
Yeah, but just you look at it like, and it's almost usually the team that wins Champions League, their best player is almost like guaranteed top 3, and then, but like it's not Bruno's fault. Like, it's not Bruno's fault. He came when United were in Europa, and it's not as if it's his fault that we're in it now. You know, but yeah, to answer your question, like on current form, I'd say he's top 5 players in the world. Definitely this season.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with you both at the moment. I think in the top 5, if not the top 3 at the minute. I think he's been fantastic. I think this season, and I'm going to be like, people might call me biased here, and they might, and look, I don't mind if they do, but because this is my opinion. Football is all about opinions, and we all make outrageous ones sometimes, and sometimes we don't. But for me, Bruno Fernandes is in the top 3 players in the world football at the moment. The only two I think on current form, we look at 12 months, the only two that are ahead of him is Haaland and Kylian Mbappe. They're the only two for me who are ahead of him on current form at the moment. Now you can look at like the Harry Kanes, the Mo Salahs, and all that of the world who are all playing well. Messi, Ronaldo, they're always there. But when you look at consistency over a 12-month period, even more than 12 months, Bruno Fernandes has been one. Even before he signed for United, the numbers he was putting up for Sporting Lisbon were absolutely ridiculous. Now, people won't talk about that because he's playing for Lisbon and not United. I remember before he signed, and I always say to new guests on the show when I'm with Shane, I said this to Shane a couple of months before he signed him. We're linked with a player, Bruno Fernandes, playing in Portugal for Sporting Lisbon. He's a very good player. He'd be a great player to come in and play number 10 for us. Now, I never imagined that he'd come in and do what he's after doing now for us. Like, no one could have imagined it. But I think when you look at him at the moment, if he keeps playing the way he does, and we don't win any trophies, lads, I dare think we could lose him. Because he's a hungry player, lads. Let's get this straight. His mentality is he wants to win trophies at the end of the day. He wants to be winning titles. And a player of his quality should be winning everything, to be quite honest. So I think it's very important that Manchester United as a whole, we talked about years about building the team around Pogba. I think we should build a team around the bottom, around Pogba and Bruno. Get a striker up there who can finish, and we'd win the league. Yeah. I'm telling you that now. And off centre back as well. Get a centre back and a striker who can finish, and Manchester United win that title.
Yeah,
with Pogba and Bruno.
We wouldn't even need a world class, like a Sergio Ramos type centre back. You would need someone that's competent with a bit of pace and maybe a bit. Can cover for Maguire and Maguire's lack of pace. But if we were to not get Sancho in the summer and go and get and just try and challenge City, because City obviously being linked with Haaland, imagine us with that attack, and then you've got Haaland up there to finish every half chance possible, and then we had a competent defence. You wouldn't need a top sort of 3 defence in the world to win the Premier League with that. Not at all. Billy Gilmore. And he's good, but he used to play for the Rangers. No, he used to play. Evan for the Rangers,
is like the saying. Evan is the Chelsea version of saying Miyasi. He comes into all these streams and he'd be chatting shit about Chelsea and Billy Gilmore. Like, I know he's a great from Scotland, but Billy Gilmore is not there yet.
No, not at all.
Definitely not. But Greg, thanks very much for coming on this evening. Fantastic to chat to you for the first time. I will definitely be getting on to you. I'll definitely be getting on to you in the next couple of weeks. We'll get you back on the channel on the United show. Maybe even get you on the London Club show as well. Thanks very much.
Need to keep them in their place. Need to keep them London Club lads in their place.
But Greg, thanks very much for coming on. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and I'll chat to you in a bit.
Cheers. Thank you, lads. Bye.
So that's Greg Chambers, one of the newest contributors to the Armchair Kickoff podcast. He wanted to get involved with the channel, hence why he came on the call-in show tonight. And he knows his stuff. Fantastic first outing for him on the show. And so thanks very much, Greg, for taking the time to come on this evening to join myself and Shane on this live call-in show here this Tuesday evening. Bits Bobs is in the house. Bits and Bobs was on with me and Shane. We had a right crack on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he says, "No wrong with Rangers," and has the same opinion as me. When you get a striker and a centre back in, we're going to win the league. I think if we got a striker and we got a centre back in, we win the league if we keep have Bruno in there. I firmly believe that. And before we bring in our next caller, just we've come in from Evan as well, saying, "All hail Lord Gilmore." Are you talking about Happy Gilmore or Billy Gilmore? Because you're spelling Gilmore wrong there, bud. But anyway, we're going to bring in our next caller this evening. This guy is another Manchester United fan from our neck of the woods in Ireland. And we're gonna bring him in now. So his name is Kevin Kennedy, Mr. Kennedy, and he's in the house. Kevin, can you hear me?
I can.
Hi, Kevin. How you going?
Well, how's it going?
How's it going, Kevin? How are you this evening?
I'm pretty good this evening because we actually won a game at the weekend, so pretty all right.
Very, very good. So, as part of the show, I was speaking to the second guest, Greg, with regards to the second topic in the show. Shane is the co-host. He's going to be from me now, and he's going to be talking to you about Manchester United and kind of get your opinions on the next topic on the show.
So, Kevin, we're kind of through the halfway mark in the league now. I think most teams are 23, 24 games played, so we're kind of not quite at the running, but I think everyone's kind of looking at almost taking the games off at this stage. We can kind of see the finishing line. So we all have a fair idea of what the league will be some way shaped at the end of the year. So looking at how United are going at the minute and what fixtures are left, where do you think United will actually finish now in the league, and what do you think of our chances of picking up a trophy as well by the end of the season?
So I think the league second is going to be our spot. We're not consistent enough to finish first. City are building up. I mean, the lead they're building up now, even if they have a dip at some point, it's such a lead, and we're not just going to win every single match because we're so inconsistent. I mean, look at the games we've dropped points in, for God's sake. It's insane.
That's what annoys me, is that when City built up the run, they went on this really good run, but you looked at the games we dropped points in, and there were ridiculous points to be dropping that killed us. There's no reason why we shouldn't have stuck with, because the points we dropped are just unforgivable.
I think if you went back in time and talked to a few pundits about just before that run of games, just before the Sheffield United match, and we were going really good, they'd probably all say, "Oh, and United have another 4 wins in a row here as well, so they're going to continue." It's just it's so frustrating. It really is.
Yeah, it's the hope that kills it, because even I was getting emotional and I was losing the runnings in myself, shouting 21 and 21 every week on the pod, and it kind of came back to bite me in the arse, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Then I think,
and Kevin, for yourself, when you look.
Oh, go ahead.
And Kevin, for yourself, when you actually look at United's form in that time, obviously drop points to Sheffield United, drop points to West Brom, drop points to mid-table Arsenal. In that regard, all these games were winnable games for Manchester United. And when you look at the league position at the moment, people are saying seconds are ceiling. I'm in absolute agreement with both of you. I think second is our ceiling this season. But I think what should happen here, Kevin, United shouldn't be fighting for top 4. We should be cementing second place. We're 6 points above fifth now. So I don't know if you agree with me, Kevin, but do you think second place is our ceiling? And do you maybe think our goal isn't to be just get that second place to cement top 4? Or do you think we should go out there now, being 6 points clear fifth? Do you think now we should go out there, go on another run now in the league, and let's separate ourselves from the other clubs like Liverpool's, West Ham's, Chelsea's, Leicester's, cement that second place? because we're a good enough team to do it. And I think when you look at our attacking talent, we're probably the second best team in the league at the moment. Let's be honest. I know Leicester are very good, but I think when you look at talent in each individual squad now, obviously Liverpool's team is very depleted at the minute. Like the Van Dijks and Joe Gomez and the world aren't there, so we can't really count them because supposedly they're in the false position. Well, we're in the false position, but they're in 6th place. But when you actually consider Manchester United, do you think we should be aiming now just to be the best of the rest?
Well, of course. Look, like we are the second best team in the league. We are. And we have a few tough games coming up now. We have Chelsea. I think we have City coming up as well in 2 games, is it? 2 Premier League games, yeah. I think. City. Yeah, so we have a few tough games coming up, which is, again, where Sheffield United and West Brom and whatnot are going to bite us in the arse. But we get through these and... I mean, Chelsea, I'm watching the Chelsea match as we speak, and they're terrible.
They're shit.
They're terrible. Like,
I'm hearing a lot of noise since Tuchel came in, and anytime I watch them, I'm like, oh my, they're dire to watch, man. Like, maybe it'll click for their forwards and something will happen, but Jesus Christ, it's looking like 2015 United under Van Gaal.
Yeah, I was just watching some of the first touches that Chelsea's players, honestly, like really, they're going with kicking the ball 2 meters ahead of themselves. Really, really not good. But sorry, what it was is should we go on a run and cement second place? I mean, that's an easy thing to say, isn't it? Yes, we should. No, we shouldn't. But there's been times in the league this year where we maybe should have struggled in a few games and not went on a run and did. And then there's times where the 5 games we had, we should have went on a run and we didn't. So it's very, very hard to say.
We need someone to say Ollie's close to getting sacked. And then we'll go on a big, massive run again, because that always seems to be the case. Like.
Usually.
Will I leak a rumor tomorrow? Will I leak a rumor tomorrow?
It's frustrating. Like obviously, we were never expected to win the league, but when it looked like the second it looked like we were actually in a title race, we were out of it as quick as we were in it. So that's kind of frustrating. But whatever, it wasn't expected. That would have been a bonus. Like. But at the very least, you want more progression, So we finished 3rd last year by the skin of our teeth. So like, hopefully we can push on and create a gap between us and the rest and kind of cement second. Just as long as we don't finish second or third, it doesn't matter. But as long as we don't finish like 20 points behind the leaders again, if we could finish just like within like a reasonable distance of City, do you know what I mean? That. Just to show that we weren't completely out of it. So just say if we finished 10 points behind him, obviously I still know like that's not great, but just to show progression, if we finish second and within 10 points of City, and if we picked up the Europa or the FA Cup, that would be good because it just shows more progression, and that's what it's been for Ollie. It's a process, like so. Just
and win the league next year.
Yeah, it might be baby steps, but it's progress nonetheless. So hopefully, like if we got dragged back in to a battle for, it looks like we're getting dragged back in for into a top 4 race. So if that's what it comes,
I don't think we are.
I thought I was looking
at this game against Chelsea is going to be a big one.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. If we can beat Chelsea,
I don't think we are though. I think when you look at the teams below us, and you look at Chelsea, probably the only kind of threat right to get out of that top 4. Liverpool are depleted. They're at no stage now, I think, where they can claw back a lead. We're 9 points ahead of them now. They have a lot of injuries. Van Dijk's out for the season. And they've no plan B. Like, Jurgen Klopp is stuck on this system. Thiago is the biggest flop in the Premier League since Cleverson. So, like, when
we're on that when you fuck that guy, man.
Oh, don't worry, Shane. I've a lot to vent on him this week. Don't worry. I've something to address this Saturday on the podcast on our Chelsea preview. So just give him the show on Saturday a little plug there. But trust me, I've a few statistics for a certain select few fans who compared him to Bruno Fernandes. I'm just going to pick up the microphone here. Mic drop moment. I'm coming for you guys. But anyway, with regards to Manchester United this season, so you think, Kevin, second place and maybe pick up the FA Cup or the Europa League? Do you think that's realistic?
Europa League and the FA Cup, as long as we don't get knocked out in the final or in the semi-final, as Ollie likes to do apparently. Yeah. That's become our calling card, unfortunately. Semi-final appearances. So we have to get over that fast.
I think winning a trophy would do a lot for this team because there's a lot of players in this team that have never won anything, I think.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Oh, yeah. I think the Europa, once you win that trophy, League is probably...
You get that winning mentality.
Yeah.
When you get that trophy, you get that winning mentality in the dressing room. And it's so important for players like Rashford and Lingard.
It's obviously not the be-all, end-all because you look at, not to pile on Arsenal, but they won the FA Cup last year and it only springboarded them to top 12 finish this year. So it obviously wouldn't be the be all end all if we did or didn't win a trophy this year, but it would just be nice because it does make a difference. And obviously if we did finish second, and then if we won a trophy as well, that just spurs you on the extra bit. It's different, say, if you're finishing mid-table and then you win a trophy. The trophy is nice, but really you're still looking at yourself in the league and you're like, what the fuck went wrong here? Do you know what I mean? Because when you're...
Yeah, look at Arsenal. They won the FA Cup last season and finished 14th. So, that wasn't a real sign of progress, was it? But, Kevin... Thanks very much for coming on the show today, and good to have you on. And we'll definitely get you on again in the future on the United Show Devil's Advocate when we're doing our general podcast, when we do have all the channel regulars on. So we'll definitely get you on at some point soon, Kev.
All right.
Thanks, Kev.
Thanks very much, Kevin. Cheers. Have a good evening. So that's Kevin Kennedy. Do catch him on Twitter at Kevin Kedge. And he does support Manchester United as well, obviously, because he's on the channel, and he's a passionate fan and goes to matches as well. And so do catch Kevin on Twitter if you can at Kevin Kedge. So before I bring in one of the other guests here tonight, Shane, any update on the Chelsea game? Can you let me know who's in the Chelsea game there?
It's 0-0 at half time, and I think Bayern are winning 2-0. As well, I'm not sure. I think they were winning 2-0 last time I seen it. But yeah, still
okay. So that's probably good for Chelsea. They could nick a one. Before I bring in another guest, I'm just going to come. Am I back, Shane? Am I back? Okay, so it looks like I'm actually that froze. I'm going to bring him back into the show there. I think Wi-Fi went absolutely bananas. There, Shane, can you hear me?
Sorry, yeah, my internet just cut out there for a sec. It's all good now.
Shane, can you hear me? I thought it was my Wi-Fi going bananas because the whole screen just froze. I was going to come to a couple of comments before we bring on our next guest. Evan has said Leicester are a dark horse this season. I agree. I think they could stay. I don't think they'll drop off this year. I think they'll stay in the top four. Amy has asked, I'm going to pose this question to Shane at the moment. Are Liverpool in a false position?
Liverpool look like they're in a false division now at this stage.
Oh, stop. We have a comment in then from Evan. He says Liverpool fans are buzzing when they draw games, but Thiago controlled the tempo. Oh yeah.
I seen things on Twitter about Thiago. I was like, no player could revive the beautiful game more times than Thiago, and nobody completed more idea balls than Thiago today.
Have they watched Paul Pogba?
Thiago's funny, man, because he's a good player, but people go over the top just because he takes little short steps when he runs and he rolls his studs over the ball. He's a pure, like, he is a good player, but he's a pure aesthetic merchant. Like.
But I'm gonna bring in our next guest on the call-in show here today. A couple of our callers messaged me all actually at the same time. A couple of them not available. One of them will be coming on soon. So I'm gonna bring on a channel regular in the call-in show. We're gonna spice it up a bit. This channel regular has been out for a couple of weeks. He's taken a whole break off social media, but tonight he's back on the armchair with an absolute bang, and he's looking to return, with an absolute bang. So we're going to bring him in. It's the return of the Mac. It's Mr. Jamie McCoy. How are you tonight, Jamie?
How are we, boys? Is good.
Do you like that introduction?
I did, mate. I don't know if I deserve that big praise, but I appreciate that. Cheers for that one, buddy. How are we? We good?
No problem at all. I'm very good now. I haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks, Jamie. How's the form?
I know, mate. Yeah, I'm doing all right, mate. I'm keeping well. I'm good, mate. How are you doing, Shane? You good?
You coming in like John Cena, number 30 in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, no, I just needed the old I'm here to win the Rumble tonight. What you got for me?
So with regards to this, Jamie, you're one of the final guests on tonight. So we have another guest coming on the show. Before I actually come to the topic, Jamie, there's a comment in for you. It's from Amy, and she says, welcome back.
There she is. How are you doing, Amy? I hope you're keeping good. I've seen you on the channel, Amy. Don't think I haven't been watching. I've seen you.
Before we actually, so I suppose, Jamie, we haven't spoken in a while, and the last time we kind of spoke on the show, on the call-in show, we've talked about Manchester United, and we talked about expectations, we talked about form, we've talked about Bruno. You've been on a lot of shows with me in the last kind of couple of months, and we've talked everything. And I've asked you questions. So, since you're the fourth person on the call-in show tonight, I'm actually going to give you the floor here. Is there anything you want to ask me or Shane with regards to Manchester United? And kind of, we're going to spice it up as a Q&A now. Is there anything you want to ask myself and Shane with regards to Manchester United?
Take it easy, yeah.
Nah, you're good, man. First question I'll hit to both of you then. This has turned the tables a bit, innit? You didn't mention this, Keane.
Hey,
Told me to do a little cameo, he said, Shane. Do a little cameo with us tonight. What's your all right, I'll hit you as well one. I think personally at the moment, and obviously I've been in the background of this for a little while, so I've been listening to the callers, and really enjoyed listening to that Greg lad. Absolutely spot on. He was. Thought it was brilliant. And everybody else that's been on as well. Really enjoyed the show tonight. But I know he's just discussing like Martial and his form and stuff like that. So what's your opinion on that? Because recently I think Rashford's really struggled. I think he done okay against Newcastle at the weekend, but I think he's generally quite struggled for a few weeks, and hopefully we can delve into that a little bit more when I come back as more of a regular instead of a sort of one-off like tonight. But what's your situation with Martial then? Because I'm sort of a bit on the fence with it at the moment as to who I want to be playing on that left, because I don't think Rashford's lit up the world recently, and I don't particularly think Tony's played very well all season, so it's a bit of a difficult one. So what's your take on Martial's longer term future at the club, and who would you prefer to see playing in that position at the moment?
Shane, do you want to go first? Or will I go first?
Yeah, I'll jump in there. Well, if it's up to me, I'm taking Rashford ahead up, because I agree Rashford struggled the last few weeks with his form, but I think it's normal for a young player to have a dip in form like that. I think even before that, Bruno had a dip in form as well, and he's come out of it okay. I think Rashford's trying to come out of it okay now as well. With Martial, I don't know, man. Like, I kind of don't see him as a winger anymore, to be honest. I think he's annoying because he doesn't have that same pace he had when he first came in, and I don't think he's as good 1v1 now as he was when he first came as well.
Yeah, I agree.
I think one of his best probably attributes now is, it's weird, like his best attributes are he's a good finisher, and his link up, his hold up play and his combination play is good for a 9. But that's been awful this year. Every aspect of his game has been poor this year, but in general, like that's his strength play.
Why do you think that is then, Shane? Why do you think he has struggled so much? Because I can't really put my finger on it. I'm going to pick Keane's brain about this in a minute as well. But what do you put it down to?
Man, I really don't know, because at the start of the season, I was putting it down to we had no preseason, so maybe he indulged a little too much in the off season.
Yeah, I thought the same.
He's unfit, but he's just never gotten going. Like, I was like, right, he started slow. Maybe when the fitness comes back, he'll pick it up. But it's just never happened, and I think he's never gotten over that slow start. Like, because he's been getting like usually, say when he's on the wing, his movement is really poor on the wing. It's better up front because he's forced, because he's in the center of the field. He's forced to be involved more, so he usually doesn't get that many chances. But he's kind of clinical. This year he's actually gotten tons of chances and he hasn't scored. So I think at the start of the season, maybe he started slowly and then he was missing chances, and I think maybe his confidence, I think maybe confidence came into it and then he lost his place. But I don't even want to bail. I feel like saying confidence kind of bails players out a bit, because your confidence is only low because you're not playing well yourself in the first place. So you can't really say he's not playing well because confidence low. Looks he's not playing well. To be honest, like, I don't know, it's tough. I really don't know what happened this season, because last year he was very good, especially after lockdown. He was probably like up there with Bruno as our best player. So I don't know what it is, man, but it's just really bad at this stage of his career to go this far back in his development. Is pretty much unforgivable. It's unforgivable, to be honest, because it's thrown off a whole attack, because he's been playing so poor as an 9. He's having to be moved to the left wing, and then since he's moved left wing, Rashford's getting moved to right wing, and it's just kind of upset everyone.
Yeah, no, spot on, mate. Absolutely spot on. I'm the same. I was hoping when we brought Cavani in that it sort of gave him a bit of a push, to sort of kick on a bit and make that position his. Because I genuinely thought if there was going to be a season with the window not going to plan, so to speak, and us bringing in like the likes of Palestri and obviously Diallo, but we've obviously waited for him. Obviously done the deal in the summer, and we didn't get that focal point striker until Cavani came in. I thought that would give him a boost to sort of try and say, like, do you know what? There's an opportunity here. There's a spot here for me. He's an older player. I'm going to be here a bit more longer term. And just seeing Amy's comment there, I think that's absolutely spot on. He doesn't like competition, and for an elite world-class player to play at our club, you're going to play against better players. Look at Roy Keane and Paul Scholes. They didn't complain when Varane came in. It was a challenge for them, whereas I don't get that mentality from him. But absolutely spot on as always, mate. What's your thoughts on him, Keane?
I've been a massive Tony Marshall advocate the last 5 or so years he's been at the club.
Yeah.
He's not a consistent player. And
just ignore my camera a minute, boys, because I'm just going to move and sit down.
The facts are there, and I'm going to bring up a few facts here. Zlatan Ibrahimovic comes in. He gets the number 9 jersey taken off him. Zlatan gets the 9 jersey. Martial gets moved out to the left. Plays well sporadically, but again, when the spotlight is on, doesn't deal well with competition, out of the side. Romelu Lukaku comes in. Again, Martial didn't deal well with competition, didn't score goals on a regular basis, doesn't play well. His confidence is gone, work rate is not there.
Yeah.
Ollie comes in, drops Lukaku, starts Rashford up front, plays Martial on the left. Martial starts playing great football, signs a new contract. Martial last season, the season after, like obviously when Ollie first came in. Martial then last season, our best player behind Bruno Fernandes, scored great goals, 25 goals in all competitions last season. Fantastic. Done a great job. One of our best players, and I thought this season he'd really kick on. But then this summer we bring in Edison Cavani to provide cover. Again, it's not even so much to come in and take his place. We brought Edison Cavani in to provide cover.
100%. That's what. Sorry to cut you off, but I agree. Like, I agree with what Amy said. He doesn't deal well with competition. But I'm dead sure Cavani was not brought in as competition. Cavani was 100. Like, I'm dead sure Ollie made it clear to Martial that Cavani's not been brought in as competition. He's brought in for cover. So I think Martial knows that he is the starting nine. And that's how poor he's been, is that a player who was brought in solely for cover, in my opinion, has now become a starting nine because he's been so poor.
Yeah, so, I think like when you look at the Edison Cavani transfer, right? We could have done that transfer 8 weeks before we actually done it. He was a free agent for 8 weeks before we signed him. We didn't do it because all of our eggs were in the Jadon Sancho basket, and there we just had to go in and get Sancho. That deal didn't materialize. We went in and got more project signings in terms of Diallo, Pellistri, and then we needed obviously cover in the forward areas because Sancho wasn't signed on a short-term basis. Cavani was available. It was either him or Josh King. Thank Christ we went in and got Cavani. No disrespect towards Josh King, but Cavani is a leader. You see what he's doing for the likes of Greenwood and Rashford, and look, he's proven to get crucial goals this season. So that's great. But when you look at Anthony Martial, the proof is in the pudding. He doesn't cope well with competition. And as we've all alluded to, Anthony Martial, was never going to be at the start of the season. None of us could imagine he'd be our second choice or even third choice striker at the moment. I firmly believe after that Newcastle game on the weekend, when you hear Ollie tell him to make a movement, start moving, your manager should not be telling you to move at this level, to make a move as a striker. If you're a striker at the top level, you have to make them intricate runs. You need to be bringing players into play. You need to be doing absolutely everything if you want to be a complete striker playing for Manchester United. Martial is not doing that. And I think that game on Sunday could be one of the final nails, if not the final nail, in the coffin of Anthony Martial's Manchester United career, which is a shame because he's all the talent in the world. And I think people need to remember this. He's so talented. The talent is there. It's just his application is not there. And that's the problem.
You've got to look sort of a bit deeper on it. And I don't tend to, I think us as football fans, we judge players based on the pitch, which that's just what we do, because that's where we see them. But I think if you look at it a little bit more deeper, I'd love to know if there's sort of something going, if he's had a breakdown in his relationship, if someone's ill in his family or something, because I don't understand it. If there was something sort of the situation that Jesse was going in, and it's fantastic to see him doing well at West Ham, by the way, just a mention for that. I haven't spoke to you for so long. There's been so much I've missed out, but good to see Jesse doing well. But I don't know if it's one of them. If Marshall's got stuff going on off the pitch, obviously Greenwood had his the travesty of losing his friend, and you could see it was physically affecting his performance. But it's at the end of the day, and we've said on and off camera, haven't we? They're human beings at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So I can, if something came out and it was Marshall did have stuff going on, I think the United fans would understand. I don't know. Personally, I would. I know you boys would as well. Be like, you know what? He's just a human being. He's obviously got stuff going on that's affecting his performance. It happens, but I don't know. Obviously, the club ain't going to put anything out like that, and he seems like a little bit of a closed book on the football pitch. I mean, he wouldn't say he's got too much of a personality in the dressing room. He's probably quite quiet, I'd probably say. But I don't know. Maybe there's something there that's the only thing I can put it down to. Shane, like what you were saying earlier, there's just that player's just not there. It's like he's got, you just hit the nail on the head, Keane. All the abilities there, it's so frustrating. I found myself dropping him.
I'm going to use that word again. It's application. We've all played football, right? We've all played football, and there's going to be games where you're not bothered, right? There's games you might turn up on a Sunday or Saturday evening, and things are not going your way in the first 20 minutes of a game. You drop the head. It's happened me. I'm sure it's happened Shane. I'm sure it's happened you, Jamie, as well.
Yeah.
But there's a point in the game where you've been on a bit of bad form and things aren't going your way. I know I've lost the head a couple of times when that's happened, but sometimes I might drop the head. But with Martial, this is happening every time when he has competition. It's not just a bad day. This is happening every time when there's a player in there who's threatening his place or is even maybe better than him. And I think this summer,
it's even worse.
I think United need to move him on.
Yeah, that was my next question for both of you. Is like, what's the alternative then? Like, is it? You're right, Keane. Like you do have bad patches of form, but it's like it's happened too many times now. And to be honest, like he's been at the club a long time now. It shouldn't be dealing with this inconsistency. And I do get like he is a flair player, you know, like he's a good dribbler, like. But it's too much inconsistency for me, and I feel like that's a massive problem in the club in general. And hopefully, in the next coming weeks, when I can get the opportunity to come back on these shows, I can delve into what I've been thinking over the past month, because I've been probably watching United and analysing United more than I've ever done, and I haven't been sort of on socials and stuff like that. So I've got quite a lot to say in the next few weeks, but it's just frustrating because it's all the qualities there, and you can see that there's a player there, but I feel sometimes with a footballer, it's like you can have all the ability in the world, but if you don't want it, if you don't really want it, and you don't want to show someone how good you are, and it doesn't matter what level, grassroots football, Premier League, Champions League, if you've got all the ability, I'm sure you have seen players that you've played against and you thought, it's a quality player, him. I know I've played with them. People I've played with should have went higher than they played, but it comes down to attitude, and time and time again with Tony, I just don't see the attitude there to want to show he's a class player. You get a smile out of him once every 3 months, which tells me he's an unhappy player in himself. There's an arrogance about him, which is a good thing from a footballing perspective because he believes in his ability, but it's like. You've just said it, Keane, like when it doesn't go to plan, it's like the world's ended. And I'm sorry, like you can't be at a club like Man United and have that attitude problem. Like you either need to sort it out or you leave. So that's good. Just picking up on that, just not taking your position as host here, Keane, but what's the crack then? Yes or no? Is he going? Is he staying? One word answer from the both of you. Go, Shane.
Fuck. I don't think we'll move him on. Whether I don't know. I don't think I'd keep him. But it's kind of. I admit it's hard to keep. It's hard to argue that point because this is like every other season. If he had struggles, he always had a nice run, a few games to justify that, like the talent he had. Where this season he's just gave. He hasn't had that run. Maybe between now and the end of the season he does. But I don't know. I just still think I see the talent in him, and I have a lot of patience with players that are talented. So I'd keep him because I still think there's a good player in there.
I'm asking you the questions, but I don't even know the answer myself, to be honest with you. Like, it's so frustrating. Like he's frustrating me that much, lads. I'm dropping him on FIFA. Do you know what I mean? Like he's quality on FIFA. It's quality on FIFA, you know. I'm dropping him because he's not playing well. But just thought I'd get a little FIFA shout in there. But I think the problem with it is like going back to being serious. I think the problem with it is for me, and it'll be interesting to see what you say about this as well, Keane. You might agree with me. I think the problem is he's not consistent enough, like goals wise, to warrant giving him the spot as the number 9, like going forward. I think we've got to look at that. Like I know we're all massive fans. I talk to you boys quite a lot off of camera, and we all love Greenwood, but he's going to need time to develop. I think one of the guests mentioned Haaland earlier. I think you mentioned him as well, Keane. Like if we had him, like it's a game changer. You know, you only get a certain period of window at Man United where you get that opportunity to show whether you can put the ball in the back of the net. And I don't see that from Martial. He's too inconsistent in front of goal. He's got everything else to his game, but I don't think he's a natural finisher. And I do think that would be something Ollie will look at longer term. particularly if he's sort of still in place, which I'm presuming they're looking at Ollie for the longer term. I definitely think he'll be looking at that position. But enough about me anyway. I could talk about Marshall all night. What's your thinking, Keane?
Personally, for me, I'd be looking to move him on in the summer. Look, again, this is no agenda against the player. It's just he'll be at the club 6 years in the summer. He's only done it in sporadic periods in a 6-year period. You have to move him on, and I think you have to be looking at maybe a Haaland, or you have to look at someone who's putting up numbers on a consistent basis up front. Bruno Fernandes, as great as he is, and how great as Rashford's been, even though Rashford hasn't taken many chances, like there's some chances he misses, but his numbers are still very, very good. Then we can't be relying on them two every single week. There has to be a natural number 9 up there scoring goals every week. If you want to win titles, you need a striker up there who is scoring goals. Anytime we've won a league, we've had a couple of strikers chipping in with goals. We can't be relying on Bruno the whole time. As much as I love him, I'm his biggest fan. Like, I represent Bruno Fernandes. But like when you look at this situation, you can't be reliant on one player, because unfortunately at some point it's going to bite in the backside, as we're seeing with Liverpool with Van Dijk.
I've missed your Bruno propaganda, lad. I have, honestly.
Don't worry, you'll see a lot more of it because he's playing good. But in terms of that, I move him on, and Jamie Gretnes, after making a comment there, which I was going to come to this on a later on show when I had the London club fans on, but I'm going to bring this man up. And this is a man who I think Man United should get. Haaland probably is going to go to City, as Jamie Gretna said, because I think with Aguero going, his father's link with Man City, Haaland's goal scoring numbers, realistically he goes to City, right? But this man, I think Manchester United should bring in. This man has scored goals in the Premier League. This man is on the form of his life. And this man has adapted his game to not only being a goal scorer number 9, but also a chance creator. I think this man will be an absolute game changer. And with Tottenham lying low in the league at the moment, and if this continues with no Champions League football and the pandemic happening, and Tottenham are going to have to make money back, you bring in Harry Kane. For me,
imagine.
You go and get Harry Kane. Roy Keane said this on Sky Sports 6 months ago.
Yeah, he did.
You're the biggest club in the world. How many times have Manchester United gone in the Premier League and went in and bought their rival players? Van Persie, Berbatov, Dwight York. We've went out and done it. When teams have been coming near us, we've gone out there and we've bought their striker to improve our squad, improve our team, and win the title. If you can't get Haaland, if he goes to Manchester City, if you want to compete with them, what's the next best thing? Mbappe's going to Real Madrid, lads. Let's be honest. He's going to Real Madrid. That's happening, right? Mbappe's going there. What's the next best player you can go out to improve the team and score goals? Mr. Harold Kane. I'm not going to call him Harry. I'm going to call him Harold.
You bring world-class strikers out there, is there? I was hoping, when we brought Cavani in, we were obviously linked quite heavy with Jovic, weren't we? I quite like the idea of signing Jovic.
No way, man. No way. Jovic, no way.
You don't like
Arsenal
him?
didn't even take him. They took Odegaard instead.
I quite rate him, Keane. I quite rate him, I watched a lot of him at Frankfurt, and I've seen him a lot.
Jamie, what we're talking about here is winning the league. We're not talking about challenging. We're talking about wanting to make a big statement. You go out there and you get a world-class number 9, a proven number 9. Harry Kane is that proven number 9. Tottenham are on a downward spiral as a club at the moment. I'm
not saying I would go for Jovic over Harry Kane. I'm saying when we were linked with a striker, we were linked with Cavani and the other players, the Josh King that you mentioned earlier. I quite like the idea of Jovic, because I thought on the loan deal it was a shot to nothing really, because he can finish. He proved it at Freiburg, but there ain't a lot of world-class strikers out there. And do you know what? Although I really agree with you, mate, and I really agree with Jamie's comment, I would love Harry Kane at Man United. I just don't feel it's a deal that the club would do. Like, Daniel Levy would be a nightmare to work with. But if we could physically do it and it was on the table,
In the
1
pandemic,
million
you can go
percent,
there.
I'll put a couple of quid in for him if the club need money. You know what I mean? But
When you consider
it's
this
a
deal,
no-brainer.
it makes sense.
It's a no-brainer. Like, if you can get Harry Kane, you go get him. Like, you know, he's arguably the best 9 in the world, but I just don't think the deal could be done. I don't think Spurs will sell to us, and I think he fucking cost close to 200 million, like, with Levy.
Yeah,
But you think about it, Shane,
I can't
when
see
you
us
look at
doing
pandemic, when you look at the pandemic, lads, right? Of all the clubs in world football who can take advantage of this pandemic, were it, right? There's us, Manchester City, PSG. You can look maybe Real Madrid, but there's kind of issues going on there as well. But when you actually look at clubs who can take advantage of this pandemic, Spurs have that issue at the stadium. Spurs will have, if they finish if they stay on the current form they're on right now, Spurs are most likely going to finish outside the Champions League place, maybe even potentially Europa League. And they've no fans in the stadium till May at the earliest. Harry Kane is not going to be happy with playing no European football. Harry Kane's going to be coming off the back of a good European championships as well. You go and get him. You go and you pull Spurs' pants down. You have to do that. You put that club under pressure. That's what you have to do. And like Jamie said in the comments there, why would Kane stay at Spurs? He's underachieving. He said he wants to win trophies. Like, at the end of the day, the direction Manchester United are going now, we're on that trajectory. Tottenham aren't. Tottenham are on a downward spiral. They should have kept Pochettino, but I'm not going to go there. They're on a downward spiral. You go out and you get Harry Kane. That's an absolute no-brainer. Like, he's in the prime. Like, it is. I think United should go out there, go all out for Harry Kane. I really think we should.
I 100% agree with you, Keane. Honestly, like, I know when I was speaking about Jovic, I'm not saying for a second that I don't want Kane. I'm just saying, like, I'm kind of on Shane's prerogative with it's a very, very complicated deal. But it's not an impossible deal. I don't think any deal is, especially at the moment.
I think the pandemic makes it so much easier. I think the pandemic makes it so much easier because the situation Tottenham are in.
I think it almost makes sense because I think United are actually kind of strapped. Sorry, Chelsea just scored, actually. Drew scored a bicycle. I was looking at it there to see if it was offside, but it's actually a given. So I'm a bit bullying over that. But yeah, I think United are actually kind of been hit hard as well over the pandemic. I think you saw that with the Sancho deal last summer. Yeah. But don't get me wrong, if we have the funds to do it, like, I've no doubt Kane will be okay to do it because the timeline, like, Spurs look like they're going to have to start a rebuild very soon. And Kane is what, 26? Is he 27? So
27 now, yeah.
He's like in the peak. Yeah, he's in his prime of his career. Why would you want to go through a rebuild at fucking Spurs of all places instead of going to United, like, who look like they're maybe 2 or 3 players away from a league title, maybe.
I think another interesting aspect. Sorry, Shane, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I thought you'd finished there, lad.
No,
sorry, carry on. Sorry. Oh, you sure?
No,
I think
I'm finished there.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, mate, I didn't mean to cut you there. Sorry. I think another interesting aspect of it as well, if you look around Europe, there's a few teams, massive teams, Real Madrid, Barcelona. No one knows what Messi's doing if he leaves there. They're in the same sort of bracket of that rebuild that you were mentioning there, Shane. Like, don't be surprised if Real Madrid elect their new president and they want to go down the Galactico route again, and they're going to go down that route. I don't necessarily think that'll be the case, but if they're looking at players like Mbappe, do you not think Heung-min Son's going to be on a lot of clubs' lists? You know, I know if I was rebuilding the team and wanted to bring some young, energetic, different style of player, I would be looking at Heung-min Son. So don't be surprised if there's other players in Tottenham's team that other clubs around Europe want, because they've got some good players. Davinson Sanchez is a really good centre back. Like, do you know what I mean? So
don't say that to Steve McGrath.
Yeah.
Don't say that to Steve McGrath.
I know. It'll be interesting
to say that in chat later on.
I'm gonna get on the London show. I'll give it a watch this week because I would like if you can hit that one to to Steve if he's on the London show this week to get his point of view of who he thinks like might leave Tottenham in the summer, because if they don't finish in Europe, as you mentioned there, Keane, like it's going to be a fire sale for them because they've got some really world class football players. They're underachieving big style at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just gonna wrap up the show there, lads. Which is nearly bang on 1 hour 30 minutes. Great call-in show. Our last caller, he told me his internet's after dropping out, so over bad weather. So look, that's absolutely fine. We'll get you on the next call-in show if you're watching the end of this now, through your mobile data or whatever. We will get you on, the next show. That's absolutely fine. I'm just gonna wrap it up this final point, and just before I get the lads to shout out their socials. Alex on Twitter, who's actually just after following me at Pagan Cat 3. I'm going to give his Twitter page a shout out because he's after putting up a very interesting tweet that is quite fantastic. So, Thiago, who we spoke about earlier on the show, guys, 12 appearances this season, 0 goals and 0 assists. Our captain, Harry Maguire, 25 appearances, 2 goals, 1 assist. And do you know what? And do you know what the final thing is? I'm going to show you the picture now on camera, lads. We're going to start an agenda. So, in that regard, if you don't follow Alex, catch him on Twitter at PaganCat3. He's after putting up a couple of tweets in the last 24 hours, guys, that I'm going to be shouting him out on this show. 100% in relation to Manchester.
I've missed you, Franey. I have missed you.
So do go over and check him out there. And just to let our viewers know, I am back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Big guest coming on tomorrow. We have Craig Houlden from the Anfield Agenda and Mundo Sport, where we will be talking all things Manchester United. We'll be talking all things Liverpool. We'll be talking all things Premier League on the United Show here tomorrow on Devil's Advocate, where we will be chatting a lot of football stuff. Craig has built a massive platform on the Anfield Agenda, does fantastic things over there, so do check him out over there as well. And do check out our interview with Craig tomorrow at 4 p.m, where we will be chatting all things football, and it promises to be a very, very good show, so do check that out. Also, this Friday on our London show, the London Lowdown, Sean Maroney is joined by a very special guest. He's joined by Adam from Mad Red United, where they'll be going head to head, chatting all things Chelsea and Manchester United with a view to Sunday's game. So do check that out as well. And as always, do smash a like on this video, and also to subscribe to the Weekly Armchair Kickoff. We've built a great platform. We're nearly at the 1 year anniversary of the Weekly Armchair Kickoff. It'll be a 1 year next month at the end of March. So I do like to thank everyone for joining us on this journey. We've a lot of great contributors to the channel. I appreciate everyone that comes into the comments as well. And it is a great journey we're on. And let's celebrate the next 12 months of the channel, because there's a lot of great things to come. And I do thank the lads for coming on the whole time as well, taking time out of their evening, especially when the Champions League is on as well. But there's no the Showtime Reds aren't in it, so it probably isn't worth watching anyway. But but with regards to social media, obviously, I'm going to give the lads a chance to shout out their socials and where you can find them if you want to give them a follow. And so, Shano, where can our followers find you?
Find me on Twitter at ShaneDowley97.
And Jamie, where can the masses find you?
Yeah, you won't find me on there until Saturday, mind. But just my name on screen there. That's my Twitter handle. So get me on there, and I'll be back on Saturday, back to the Madhouse. So I'm looking forward to getting back interacting with all the United fans on there. But been an absolute pleasure coming back on here, boys. I know it's a bit late notice, so thanks for having me, and good to see you as always.
No problem at all, James. Thanks very much for coming on. And as always, look, right down below, you can see me at Keane_Franey. Catch me on Twitter for all your Bruno Fernandes propaganda. You can catch me there for all your bantering for the rival fans. And I also banter 14 place Arsenal too. So, do check out my Twitter handle there. But as always, subscribe to the Weekly Armchair Kickoff. and we'll see you tomorrow.